I'm George Anderson, the MLA for Nanaimo-Lantzville and Parliamentary Secretary for Transit. Thank you all for coming out today and joining us on the territory of the Algonquin people, the Songhees and Esquimalt nations. I'm very excited to introduce our MCs for today's announcement, BC Hydro's Dave and Jaclyn.
Thank you, MLA Anderson, and good morning, everyone.
We're Jaclyn and Dave from BC Hydro.
If you know us, you know we typically have no problem getting excited about things, but even with that, today hits a little different.
It really does, Dave. It really does. It's a big one. It's not every day that we get to announce that BC Hydro is launching its largest ever Power Smart plan. We're calling it Power Smart 2.0.
Is that what we decided on? It feels a little on the nose. I like some of the names I came up with a little bit better. I had Power Smart 2 even Power Smarterer, or Power Smart 2 Hydro Harder.
Anyway, a bit of background. Power Smart has been around for more than 35 years, helping people and businesses save money.
And helping BC Hydro delay the need for new infrastructure.
That's right. And along the way, it's helped make us a global leader in energy efficiency.
Since 2008, it's delivered over 7,500 gigawatt hours of savings. That's a lot of power.
Like a lot. Like 750,000 homes annually. And now we're taking it up a notch.
And all to support our customers in lowering their energy bills while making smarter, more efficient choices every day. That's Power Smart. Or as we soon may be calling it, Power Smart 2 Revenge of the Rebates.
Dave, we'll workshop the names a little later, but for now, I'd like to invite our first speaker to the podium. Please join me in welcoming the Premier of British Columbia, the Honourable David Eby.
Well, awestruck, the Power Smart duo in person. Great to see you guys. Thanks for joining us. Obviously, this is a very big announcement for the province, for BC Hydro. It's BC Hydro's largest ever initiative, $1 billion initiative to conserve hydro. But I note that this is also BC Dairy Day, and there is ice cream, free ice cream for people just behind the cameras. And so, I mean, this part is more for the lactose intolerant, and then we've got something for the lactose tolerant here today as well. For British Columbians, they see the prices at the pump as a result of the war in Iran, the impacts that are really showing up here in the province. They've already been subjected to the impacts of global inflation, which are showing up in all kinds of different places. And so as a government, it's a responsibility and a priority for us to ensure that we're supporting British Columbians with affordability. Wherever we can provide a little bit of support for families, for seniors, that goes a long way. And so the overall global picture, we can't control President Trump's actions in the Strait of Hormuz. We can't control the impact of global supply chains, but what we can control and what we can impact here at home are things like our crown corporations, ICBC rates, keeping them low for people, making sure that we're supporting people with daily affordability. And BC Hydro is one of those key areas where we can provide that additional support. And we're going to keep working on those areas, whether it's driving rents down, driving down car insurance prices, cutting childcare bills, supporting families however we can. Now, this exciting announcement, Power Smart 2.0, is based on a pretty simple idea, that the cheapest electricity, the cheapest energy for people is the energy that they don't use, allowing people to find ways to reduce their energy consumption, which has two really positive effects. First of all, it reduces your monthly bill, but secondly, it frees up that electricity to be able to drive economic activity here in the province. It also, this initiative supports small and medium-sized businesses that may be feeling those additional cost pressures and find ways to drive down their electricity bills as well. The project has some very specific components that are very positive. We've got free smart thermostats for 200,000 homes with baseboard heaters. These heaters are very expensive to run if you're heating your home with them. The smart thermostat helps you drive down your bills. Cash rewards for reducing your energy use. Let me tell you, as a dad, the most frustrating thing is going through the house and finding every single light on And so with the new app that BC Hydro will be launching about usage at your house, I'll be able to work with my children and engage with them on the important issue of turning off the lights when they leave a room. I'm very excited about that. There will be rebates for people when they shop in stores looking for different hydro-using appliances to choose more energy-efficient models, and benefits directed towards lower-income families, although available to all BC Hydro customers. The economic impacts of this project are significant. The project itself is a $1 billion initiative from BC Hydro, but will result in a $1.4 billion GDP impact in the province and 3,500 jobs. It also helps us not have to do certain hydro transmission and generation upgrades, reflecting 800 megawatts of electricity. So we save families money, we save the public money, we drive savings for business, driving the economy, create jobs and opportunity. It's a win-win for everybody. Now, I know that there is a history in this province of how our Crown corporations did not deliver for people. When our Crown Insurance Corporation was turned into a cash machine for lawyers instead of a protective instrument for British Columbians delivering affordable car insurance rates. Well, we fixed that, and now we have some of the lowest car insurance rates in the country while providing the protection that British Columbians need. A hydro system that was turned over to private companies through some of the most expensive independent power contracts that have ever been seen. In fact, the contracts we've signed now, many, many years later, are actually cheaper than were signed back then by the BC Liberals, now the BC Conservatives, driving up hydro rates 54% beyond inflation during their time in office. And our time in office, hydro rates below the rate of inflation. We can't afford to go back to that model of using the public assets in a way that drives up costs for British Columbians. And that is the other option that you will hear promoted by the BC Conservative Party, handing over our car insurance company to personal injury lawyers, handing over our hydro utility to unfair deals that drove up rates for British Columbians. This plan builds on decades of actions by people across the province and shows that we can achieve the kind of power savings that we're hoping for by going big this time. It's going to help people lower the bills. It's going to help the province get ahead. And I'm really excited about it. I want to thank BC Hydro and I want to thank Minister Dix for bringing this proposal forward to support BC families with affordability and support our public utility with low rates for all British Columbians. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Premier Eby. This might be a bit awkward, but when we were in the legislature this morning, we noticed some energy efficiency upgrade opportunities. So perhaps that's something we can chat about a little later.
To be clear, we're not blaming you.
We're not blaming you.
We just like to point these things out when we see them. Small changes can make a big difference.
Exactly. Now, please join me in welcoming Mark Kinna, President and CEO of Baptist Housing.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today. At Baptist Housing, our focus is simple: providing safe, comfortable, and supportive homes for the seniors we serve in local communities across the province. We've been proud, longtime partners with BC Hydro and active participants in the Power Smart programs. Under the leadership of our Associate Vice President of Asset Management and Sustainability, Eric Klein, we've seen firsthand the value of these programs in terms of delivering for our communities and, importantly, for the seniors we serve. The additional rebates available through Power Smart 2.0 make a real difference for us. They allow us to accelerate critical upgrades to our senior living communities, whether that's improving lighting, modernizing heating systems, or introducing smarter energy controls. These kinds of improvements go beyond energy savings. They help create spaces that are safer, more comfortable, and healthier for seniors, while supporting more sustainable futures for their children and their grandchildren. For our residents, that means better day-to-day living environments, greater comfort in every season, and communities designed to support their well-being for years to come. From a financial perspective, these programs are equally important. By reducing upfront costs and improving project returns, they allow us to move faster and do more while keeping our operations sustainable. The savings we see on energy and operating costs are reinvested directly back into what matters most: resident care and services and ongoing building improvements. Simply put, PowerSmart isn't just about efficiency, it's about enabling organizations like ours to deliver better outcomes for the people we serve. At Baptist Housing, we're proud to be part of a program that supports communities and a more sustainable future for British Columbia, and we're excited about what's to come with PowerSmart 2.0. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Now it's my pleasure to welcome the Honourable Adrian Dix, Minister of Energy and Climate Solutions, to the podium.
Oh, I know why I'm here. I have type 1 diabetes, so love the ice cream. Not for me. But I'm here to hang out with Dave and Jaclyn, all the work they do for people every day, and the whole team at PowerSmart. What we're announcing here in PowerSmart 2.0 is essential to BC's future. It's not a small part of it or a side. It is essential to our electricity needs. You see this in this investment. $1.1 billion in investment over the next 3 years, 2,200 gigawatt hours in energy savings, 800 megawatts in capacity savings. Imagine, when one considers the cost of projects, what the level of those savings are. And so this program, its highlights that the Premier has talked about, underscore that the best energy you have is the energy you don't use. And this underscores it. Free smart thermostats for homes heated with electric baseboards available this fall. Enhanced rewards for all residential customers, up to $200 annually. Expanded support for low-income customers, that's $325 per year in rewards. And when you consider that the average apartment with electricity in British Columbia is $650, $325 is massive savings for people, allowing people to be part of climate action, part of the economic development of the province. Improved digital experience, a new app launching this fall that will allow customers to access PowerSmart products, in-store and online rebates, instant savings ranging from $10 to $200 at more than 300 locations across BC, and funding for up to 100% of eligible costs for commercial and industrial projects. In short, what we propose to do is start with conservation and move on to optimizing, squeezing every electron out of our existing resources, including Revelstoke 6, for example, which is a project that fully utilizes the Revelstoke Dam, and build, as we saw last week, with new clean energy projects across BC. Conserve, optimize, build. PowerSmart is a tradition in BC since 1989. It's one of BC's best and most recognizable brands, partly because of the work of David Jaclyn, and we've got to continue to drive forward. This is a crucial moment for British Columbia at a time when affordability and energy are central issues in people's lives. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Minister Dix. And last but certainly not least, please welcome our awesome boss, President and CEO of BC Hydro, Charlotte Mitha.
Good morning, everyone. Great to be here today. So across British Columbia, our customers are looking for practical ways to manage rising costs. And that's why we're launching PowerSmart 2.0, the largest conservation in BC Hydro's history. This plan is all about supporting our customers, making it easier to use less energy, lower bills, and feel more in control without complexity. PowerSmart already has a 35-year history. Together, we've built North America's leading conservation programs, and now with PowerSmart 2.0, we're expanding it for the future. So for residential customers, that means new and expanded supports, including free thermostats for homes with electric baseboard heating, launching this fall. Through enhanced rewards, residential customers will also be able to earn up to $200 a year on top of bill savings. For low-income households, we're expanding support even further, up to $325 a year. And we're also making it easier to save with instant rebates on energy efficient projects across hundreds of retailers in BC. And this fall, we will launch the app, as the minister said, and this will give customers a better understanding of their own energy usage, the access the programs they need, and manage their accounts more easily. I just want to talk a little bit about business and industry. We're expanding funding and support for energy efficiency upgrades, new technologies, and process improvements, in some cases covering 100% of the project costs. And these are just some of the highlights, with more to come as the plan rolls out. These programs benefit individual customers, but they also benefit everyone. By reducing demand on the provincial system, we can delay the build and cost of new infrastructure, helping keep electricity affordable. And that's why energy efficiency remains our first, our best, and our lowest cost option for meeting BC Energy's needs, and why we're doubling down on this. At the heart of PowerSmart 2.0 is a simple commitment. We're here to support our customers. And besides that, conservation, energy efficiency, it is just the right thing to do. So we look forward to working with all British Columbians in every region we serve to save energy, lower costs, and build that sustainable future together. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte, and thank you to all our distinguished speakers today.
To close, we both feel really fortunate to be part of the PowerSmart team, and it's an exciting time at BC Hydro. We're looking forward to continuing to help our customers save energy, lower their costs, and support a more energy efficient future.
Definitely. Thank you all for joining us today, and now I'll invite Premier Eby back to the podium for some questions.
Thanks, Dave and Jaclyn, and thanks everyone for joining us here today at the Legislature. We're going to take questions from the media now. All members of the media will have one question and one follow-up. For media on the phone line, please remember to press *1 to enter the queue and to unmute yourself when called upon. We're going to start with Katie DeRosa from CBC.
Premier, you're expected to meet with the Prime Minister tomorrow. Do you intend to tell him that he shouldn't be rewarding bad behavior with this proposed pipeline, and he shouldn't be rewarding separatism as per your message on Friday?
Yeah, you know, the message I have for the Prime Minister is a pretty straightforward one. British Columbia backs Canada, and we need Ottawa to back British Columbia. We have $88 billion in projects, 34 different major projects, 40% of the projects at the Major Projects Office, real projects with proponents and routes and ready to go. And we have the British Columbians who are getting trained to be able to take the jobs these projects create through $250 million in new funding for training, so that this puts more money in British Columbians' pockets by creating jobs and opportunity. It puts more money in Canadians' pockets across the country by lifting the national GDP. We just need to see that same level of support that Alberta has seen from the Prime Minister right here in British Columbia.
The day before the announcement, you were standing alongside the federal energy minister with an announcement about LNG. Do you see that as a potential quid pro quo? Like, if we placate BC on LNG, they will be more likely to support the pipeline. And also, it seems like you're not talking about legal challenges anymore. Are you leaving it up to environmental groups and First Nations to mount that challenge?
No, I mean, not at all. Look, my message isn't complicated. Like, we have these huge companies. They want to build a lot of stuff in British Columbia, things that the world needs. They want to expand our port capacity. They want to create jobs for British Columbians. They want to lift the national economy. And they're here and they're ready to go. And we need a strong federal partner to work with us to deliver these projects. So that's the very straightforward message. I'm not playing five-dimensional chess here. This is just the reality of the incredible good fortune that British Columbia has to have these opportunities. And I understand the Premier of Alberta is going to advocate for the Premier of Alberta's stuff. And the Premier of British Columbia is going to advocate for British Columbia's stuff, which has the added benefit of being projects that are going to deliver for all Canadians. And that's something we're really proud of here. And that's something we want to see reflected in an equal level of federal enthusiasm for British Columbia.
Ben O'Hara-Byrne, Global News.
Thanks, Premier. Following up on that, is there not a world where you and Alberta mutually benefiting from someone? And how would you communicate that to the government of Alberta? Because for the time being, you've sounded negative about all this. And if I'm the Premier of Alberta, I'm saying, well, you're the gatekeeper.
It's probably a great question, but I just can't quite hear you because the speakers are pointed the wrong way, and
Is there a place where you could find mutual ground with the government of Alberta on this issue? Because clearly they don't want you gatekeeping their access to Tidewater. Is there a way you could find a way around this?
I mean, I guess the position I find myself in is one where I'm advocating for BC projects because the Premier of Alberta is advocating for Albertan projects, and I understand why she's doing that. But she's not sitting at the table going, oh, make sure that you're also delivering on these big BC projects that have proponents and routes and permits and they're reaching final investment decision. That's not her job. That's my job. And I'll make sure that that's the message that I'm delivering to the Prime Minister. I will not be using my time with the Prime Minister to advocate for Alberta's projects because they are getting a lot of time with the Prime Minister right now.
Hope you can hear me here. On the BC Sports Hall of Fame, it seems like FIFA's decided to give them the boot from BC Place. Do you feel like your government did enough to make sure that that didn't happen?
Yeah, I mean, this is an important institution for British Columbians. Lots of amazing BC athletes featured. I visited a few times. It's a beautiful facility that they have that's incorporated in BC Place, and inconvenient and not great for them not to be able to be there during the World Cup. The silver lining, though, is that the Hall of Fame will be moving into an upgraded and new space because of the World Cup. These there are inconveniences for many British Columbians during this period. I'm grateful for those folks who are making a sacrifice for this larger global event we're going to be hosting, and it will be leaving significant legacies, one significant one of which is an improved BC Sports Hall of Fame.
Rob Buffum, CTV.
Well, hi, Premier. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, just wanted, when you meet with the Prime Minister tomorrow, you're going to be advocating for certain projects in BC, but you also issued that statement on Friday saying, referencing bad behavior, separatism. Are you going to raise that issue with the Prime Minister tomorrow? And what are your thoughts on the fact that a pipeline would go through BC primarily? It's going to affect British Columbia in that way. Is there some position you want to really underscore in that regard? Because it does impact the province, either for better or for worse.
Yeah, so the message to the Prime Minister is simple. This country cannot work if separatist premiers, others get all of the attention of the federal government, and those provinces where we're standing squarely behind Canada, where we're fighting for Canada, where we couldn't be more pro-Canadian in the projects we're advancing. Where we're left out of the discussion. That's a very straightforward message from me to the Prime Minister, and I'm hopeful he agrees with that, because we have huge projects here in the province that are going to employ thousands and thousands of British Columbians and Canadians from across the country. It's going to raise the national GDP. It's going to raise the value of the Canadian dollar. Some of these projects are that big. And we're training up British Columbians to be able to take the jobs these projects create so they have more money to cope with rising expenses as a result of global inflation. We are doing this work. We need to do it together. And we need to have at least as much enthusiasm from the federal government for BC projects as they've shown for Alberta projects.
Wondering about, you referenced being part of the conversation. Perhaps one reason BC has not been involved in these conversations is that it's been so clear in its opposition to a pipeline. Wanted to get your thoughts on, it does now feel there's a level of inevitability towards this pipeline, at least if you listen to the Prime Minister's office and the Premier's office in Alberta. In light of that, is there a route in the north, or is there a northern or southern route that you would reluctantly prefer, one over the other? Do we have to accept a southern route maybe?
Look, Rob, I've puzzled over the fact that national carbon price policy, national methane emission policy was not negotiated with all of the provinces and all of the territories at the table, but was only negotiated with one government, the government of Alberta. The Prime Minister needs to answer for why he made that decision. It's not one I agree with. I don't understand how his decision on the national carbon price with Alberta is going to be implemented across the country. I'll be looking forward to hearing from him and understanding his perspective on that. At the end of the day, national policies need to be engaged at the table with all of the premiers of the provinces and territories, full stop. That is my position. I don't think it's a controversial one, and I don't think it should be conditional on whether or not you support lifting the tanker ban off the north coast of British Columbia, because that is a tanker ban that has been supported by Liberal governments, Conservative governments, NDP opposition, provincially, BC Liberal leaders, and certainly by this BC NDP Premier.
Wolfgang Deppner, Canadian Press.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. Thank you for taking my question, Premier. Premier, just now you talked about separatist premiers. How much of that comment was aimed at Alberta Premier Danielle Smith?
Well, I think the reality is that there is a very real and present threat of a referendum on separatism in Alberta enabled by decisions made by the Albertan government. And I believe that that is part of why we are seeing the federal government engage differently with Alberta than other premiers across the country. Bluntly, we cannot have bad behavior decide who gets engaged with by the federal government. We need to hold this country together. We need to fight for this country every single chance we get. We need to stand up for Canada, and we need to make sure we're supporting every province and territory with equal respect. And that is what will provide a unified country. And that is something that the British Columbians need to see from the federal government, and I'm counting on seeing that from Prime Minister Carney.
Yeah, thank you for that answer. Excuse me. There are a handful of federal Liberal MPs in BC, including one right here in Victoria. What, if any, outreach has your government done to the BC contingent of federal MPs? And how much of a weak link do you see that particular group when it comes to changing the Prime Minister's behavior? Thank you.
Well, I think that when it comes to federal Liberal MPs here in British Columbia and the BC government, we have a lot in common in terms of what we want to see. We want to see a federal government really engaged with our province. And so we have been meeting with the Pacific Caucus regularly, both myself and my colleagues individually and as a group. We'll continue to do that work. It's one of the great channels we have to get our message out as British Columbian legislators to the federal government. And we're going to keep doing that. We got to fight for British Columbians, for their jobs, for opportunity, for training opportunities, to get more money in their pocket, to cope with the rising cost of living, fight for BC projects. And the federal government is a key partner, whether it's more doctors and nurses, or whether it's affordability, or whether it's jobs, or it's public safety. That partnership federally is so key for us. And we're going to continue to fight for that partnership and engage with the Pacific Caucus.
Fran Yanner, Northern Beat.
Thank you. On a different topic, talking about following Gatla, you talked about significant legal liabilities posing an existential threat. Wondering, has that threat gone away since now you're not doing the amendments? And if so, it also, do you think the public deserves to know what those 20 cases are that you said were causing that significant liabilities?
Well, the reality is that we've set a timeline with our partners, which is the beginning of the fall session, to sit down and work out a durable and lasting solution to this serious challenge that we see as a provincial government. I think that's important for us to do. We're doing that work. We're also at the same time appealing the Court of Appeal decision to the Supreme Court of Canada. We'll hear from them on our leave application. And we're going to keep doing the work. I mean, that's the long and the short of it. Issues related to the relationship between the provincial government and Indigenous people in this province way predate the Declaration Act. And keeping those disputes out of court with the unpredictable decisions that those bring, reaching agreements with First Nations, will continue to be the path wherever we can with our government, because it is delivering massive results in terms of capital investment, jobs, and opportunity in the province. And moving away from that will result in job loss, will result in uncertainty and litigation. And so if we can find a path forward cooperatively, we want to do that. But we have set the fall session is when we need to have this resolved with our partners.
I'd love to follow up one day in a real interview with you. For now, I'm wondering how you respond to criticism that your government is negotiating major policy and legislation with a select group that is unelected by the public, unaccountable to the public, and has no duty to the public interest.
Well, Fran, how do I respond to those conservative talking points other than to say that's all they are? They are not grounded in reality. The Declaration Act was passed unanimously through this very legislature. Every year, an action plan is tabled in this legislature that outlines the work that we're doing. We had a court decision that upended the common understanding of what the Declaration Act is. We're appealing that decision. We're doing that work for British Columbians. And we're making sure that as best as possible, we can preserve our relationship with First Nations, because we've got a lot of work to do together in this province that lifts everybody's boats and benefits everybody together. So we're going to keep doing that work. But that, what you just read out, it could not be farther from the truth. And the issue of the relationship between this building to my right, the Legislative Assembly, and Indigenous people in this province has been an issue since the earliest days of a province that was settled largely without treaty. And we have to find a path forward together. And anyone who tells you that you can do it without talking to Indigenous people is not telling you the truth.
Mark Page, Black Press.
Yeah, Premier, I have an on-topic question for you. So this power plant here, it sounds like, knowing that some of these new major LNG projects, silisms, for example, will need like up to 600 megawatts of electricity for each project. So basically, this proposal is essentially asking the public to try to save electricity so we can use that electricity for LNG projects. Is that a fair characterization?
Yeah, I mean, no, Mark, it's not, but I see where you're going there. So with a publicly owned utility, we have a couple of key advantages. One is we can create new generation opportunities. As you've seen, we've done through our calls for power, record calls for power, clean energy projects, wind projects, solar projects, and so on. The second is we can create energy for use in the provincial economy, and keeping in mind that a big driver of electricity is things like data centers, life sciences, advanced manufacturing, LNG as one category. And if we can free up some of that electricity, we can say yes to more projects faster that have intensive energy uses and also create employment opportunities here in the province. And so it's the fastest way for us to create that additional capacity, absolutely. But it is not, we have to build a North Coast transmission line, for example, to get up to the Northwest. That's the reason for that project. We have many calls for power, including firm power, that is about creating electricity for major resource projects. This is about responding to growth in communities, additional homes, infrastructure that has to be built, and ensuring people are supported in reducing their monthly costs in a way that benefits the whole province.
You mentioned the two recent calls to power. I think there was two. There might have been three. I might be losing count at this point. What percentage of the power that's going to be generated through those calls for power is going to go to industrial usages, and what percentage is going to go to households?
I wonder, I see the energy minister wandering up here.
So as you know, you've seen, and we'll be amending the Integrated Resources Plan shortly, that shows the opportunity here in BC. So yes, a dramatic increase in industrial use. One of the reasons why we've added, even though we've added 1 million people to the province, that residential energy use hasn't gone up in kind, is because of power smart measures such as LED lighting, which reduced the cost of lighting by 50%. So what we're doing here is taking this moment of opportunity. I just want to put it in context. Growth was flat for basically 18 years after 2007. Electricity growth was flat, the load growth was flat, and now we're seeing this opportunity in industrial use, in commercial use, and yes, a growing population, and we respond to those in a detailed way in our Integrated Resources Plan. But yes, there's industrial opportunity for jobs in BC, and it's BC Hydro's obligation as the electricity provider in almost all the province to provide that, and that's exactly what we're doing, and you'll see the details in the plan. I'll be happy to take you through it.
Thank you, Minister. And that concludes today's event. Thank you, everyone.